Last video, we have our last two verbs. We haven't practiced the verb hacer too much. It's been an old verb. I'm gonna zoom in so you guys can see a bit better. For quite some time. It's been going on since last year, but we're specifically using it a bit more in this chapter because of all the things that you have to do, right? All of these chores that we've been looking at. So we're still going to use querer. It is a boot verb that we've had for quite some time, and it's one of the more frequently used boot verbs, which is why I always add it to these lessons. So for this week, it is the end of the week as well, like the end of the module, I should say. We're at the last week of it. You're looking at querer, again in the preterite. That's all we're doing for this module. And hacer, because it's talking about things you have to do. Your quiz will be coming up, of course, if you're watching this during the actual week that it's assigned / what we're learning. But just remember, we have to use the preterites when it comes to this. I know, and I've mentioned in all the other videos, that we've done a version of the past tense, which was the imperfect, but it's technically a different type of tense, different spellings, not what I'm checking for exactly for this specific unit that we're looking at. So something to keep in mind. So for these two verbs that we have, luckily, even though it is a boot verb and it's like the more common boot verb when it comes to the present tense, we're not looking too much at boot verbs when it comes to the preterite tense. There is a root change, as in you do change something other than just the conjugations at the end of the word, but it's not in the boot shape. So if you notice, querer has Q-U-E, but then your chart has Q-U-I. But it's not that there's like an I only in the shape of the boot. This is what you usually had seen for boot verbs. This one is just across the board. So it is a stem changer, but it's not a boot verb stem changer, if that makes sense. So it is going to change the spelling of the root that you usually don't touch. It's just not going to fall in the boot shape. It's just you're changing it everywhere. So when it comes to querer, in the past, right, in the preterite tense that you're using, you would be saying yo quise. So I wanted. Again, previously, it's like yo quería. But again, yo quería in the imperfect tense, which is what we did last unit, would basically be like I wanted in the past, but something that you might still want currently. So it's like it time travels, right? It goes through both tenses. In this case, yo quise is I wanted from back then, and I don't anymore. It's only from back then. So, example sentences. Yo quise hablar francés. I wanted to speak French, as in I did in high school. I didn't take the class though. My mom thought it was better for me to take Spanish speakers, like regular Spanish. So, which I guess was good because obviously my Spanish is what also is what I'm working on right now, what I'm teaching. But either way, yo quise hablar francés. I kind of don't care so much anymore. Well, not too much at least. Tú quisiste, what could you want? Tú quisiste regresar a BHS. Maybe. That's actually probably more of an imperfect. You wanted to go back to BHS. I'm assuming most of you probably still want to go back on campus as well, but I'm just giving an example. Él, ella, or usted, one person, quiso hacer una pizza. They wanted to make a pizza, as in make it at home, en la casa, for their familia. Nosotros quisimos, we wanted. Nosotros quisimos ir al cine. We wanted to go to the movies. Maybe not anymore because it might not be the safest, but we wanted to go to the movies. And ellos, ellas, or ustedes, lots of people in this case, quisieron salir a correr. They wanted to go out and run. Go exercise, pretty much. The second verb, like I mentioned, is hacer. So let me scroll really quick. Hacer is technically to do / to make, like depending on the type of sentence that you're writing, the context, I guess you could say. It sounds odd if I say to do instead of to make, depending on the thing. So like for this unit, the chores that we looked at, to make your bed, you wouldn't say to do my bed. That's just not how we use it. So either way, you are doing something. There's a certain action occurring, right? You are fixing and reorganizing and making pretty your bed. So to do / to make, same idea. It's the same verb. It just kind of depends as to how you translate it for the sentence you're using. So yo hice. I did / made something. Yo hice mi cama. I made my bed. Tú hiciste el almuerzo. You made lunch. Una persona, one person. Él, ella, or usted hizo la tarea. He or she did. Now it's not a make, right? It's a did. The homework. La tarea. I forgot what I said. Nosotros hicimos el jugo. We made some juice. we wouldn't really say I or we did some juice. And then ellos, ellas, or ustedes, or multiple people in this case. Ellos hicieron, let's see. Ellos hicieron el proyecto. They did the project. Another form of did instead of make. Either way, did or make, depending on what you are trying to say, both words will fit. You're still using the same verb in Spanish though. So this is basically the end of like the more common, we usually call these, I think the super seven. I'm trying to think of what a bunch of other teachers call them, but we have these as like the super seven verbs, as in the verbs that are most often used, kind of no matter what context you're looking at or like what theme you're looking at in a textbook. So we're going to keep using these like super seven verbs for the most part, but especially this chapter, because we've had verbs as kind of our vocab list, like just knowing how to say to set something, to clean something, to dry something, to iron something, then we can use these and actually practice the preterite changes as well. And last time we couldn't because all of them were nouns, as in the different rooms, the different things that go in the rooms instead. So we're going to obviously keep using the vocab and just change the spellings for this new type of grammar conjugation that we're practicing. But these are like the specific verbs that kind of transcend all vocab units that we go over because they're always used so often. So these we're always going to come back to. They're just like the basic verbs you just got to know when it comes to Spanish. And then, of course, all these other verbs that you might not always use when it comes to like decorating something are just what we're using as extra practice to make sure we know how to conjugate. So we're going to be practicing more of that this week. I hope this was a relatively easy quiz, or lesson, I should say, because you do have your quizzes coming up in a couple of days if you haven't, of course, done it right now or if you're watching this on a Friday. But it's going to be on preterite. Try not to get imperfect and preterite confused. I know they're both past tense, but they're different types of past tense. But for right now, for this unit, for this module, only preterite. So hopefully it was easy. I'll see you guys in class. And if you have questions, of course, let me know so I can try to help you. All right, adios.